Hey, what's happening, Roland? Well, I tell you, today's Friday. It's March the 7th, the first week of March. And what that is, it's fantastic fishing, and turkey season just came in. I just shot myself a real nice gobbler down in the big cypress, but that's beside the point. But what the rest of the week is I've had some good fishing this week, but I've been organizing my tackle. Now look at this, some of this organization here. I've got my frogs in a nice box. I got all my crankbaits in top order and little small things, and I got my worm weights. Look at how organized it is. All my tungsten weights, my special hooks, and even my stick worms. Of course, some more top order plugs. I got here these trailers for the that's all stuff for the uh, chatterbaits. And I got now my shiner fishing. Look at my shiner fishing box. It doesn't look like much, but I've got every hook that you could ever imagine, because what we were doing on shiners, we're actually using the little domestics on some cases with the small floats like this, and then we're using the bigger shiner with the big floats, we have all different size hooks and stuff. Well, anyway, a lot of people come down here to guide, and what they want is to catch the biggest fish. That brings me to the point about what you want to do. Do you want to become a guide? I mean, I'm just thinking about my involvement with the guide service, because it's not a little bitty involvement. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of investment and just hours and hours and hours of time getting this guide service going. Just for example, look at these rods. This is just a few rods. These are all brand new rods at a couple $100 a piece. And so this is just the shiner stuff. This compartment under here, I can't show it to you right now. I got 30 rods in this compartment under here. I got 10 more rods in that compartment. And look behind us. Look, there's all those rods there. And there's just a ton of extra rods. I mean, and that's not what counting upstairs. I got more rods upstairs. So I have like $10,000 worth of rods and reels. And that's just part of the game. The other part is to get in the tackle. Sure, I have some deals with the different tackle companies, but so many of these lures I have to buy. For example, I don't have any kind of deal with Zoom, so these are $5, $6 a pack, and I go through 5 or 6 packs of those a day. Plus, I supply shiners. When I go out there if I catch some of my shiners, but sometimes I buy them. So that's just a little bit of the cost. Then you talk about a boat. Okay, here we have a bass boat. I'm telling you what, the people don't realize what this is now that I got the new Move trolling motor on here, and of course with the active target system and all the electronics. We're talking about an $80,000 bass boat, $90,000. Then if I want to go saltwater fishing, I have my saltwater rigs right here, and then in the back you've seen my tracker, tractor Grizzly. It's all set up with special rod holders. And by the way, look what I had to do with the with my bass boat. I put rod holders on my bass boat, and I drilled them down. Of course, I can take these off, and I'll be getting a new boat anyhow pretty soon. But anyway, that's just part of the investment. I can go on and on. Just little things like the line. I go through, just on an average day, I'll change line on 5 or 6 different rods, and that's $30 or $40. Those lures, those big swim bait lures by Spro, I got those free, but they're $65 a piece. We go through all these other plugs, and a frog, for example, it's a $10 deal, and we usually go through a couple of frogs a day. And so yeah, sometimes I get some of this stuff complimentary, but because I do a job with doing YouTubes on them, and I do some advertising. But an awful lot of this tackle, at least half of it, maybe more, I'm buying it. And then I think the boat gas. Sure, I charge a little bit of money to do it, but I have to drive over to Clewiston, for example, when I fish like Okeechobee. That's $100 worth of gas right there. Then I have to have a place to stay, another $100 in meals, and so then the shiners another $200 or $300. So I get like $500 a day, almost that much in just expenses, figuring all my tackle and all my gas and all my time. So I mean, it's really something. If you want to become a guide, it's a lucrative business and it's a lot of fun, but you don't make a lot of money. Most people that guide have money like I do, and they just want to be a guide because they can fish all the time. The reason why I'm a guide isn't so much to make the money; It's just I can go fishing almost every day, and that's the fun of fishing. And the other thing I like about guiding, it's really kind of a thing that I just like to do. I like to help people out. There's 3 or 4 stages of fishing. The first stage is you want to go out and catch as many fish as you can. You just want to slaughter 1,000,000 fish. This is when you're just a teenager. Well, then the second stage is going to a method like, oh, I want to fly fish a little bit. Oh, I'd like to catch them on top water. Oh, I like to frog fish. And so you develop some technique. And then the third step is to say a trophy deal. Well, then for years I was going down the Ocala forest and I'd fish big shiners. I'd catch 10 and 12 pound bass. And then I went to Mexico and caught even bigger bass. And so I've gone through the trophy deal. The last step is the kind of the turnaround of the whole thing and the circle of the whole experience is trying to pass it on to others, trying to teach it. And so when I take a guide trip out, my whole goal is to explain to them just everything I'm doing. It could be as simple as what kind of hooks to use and how to set the hook on a shiner, which is more complicated than you might realize. Then you go into the worm fishing, how to hold a rod, how to give just about the right amount of time so he doesn't swallow it, how to set the hook the proper way. All these things, I'm constantly chiding people and teaching them the proper way of fishing. Now, sometimes I can actually tell them better than I can do it myself. I can't always set the hook perfect because I've lost some arm strength and stuff, but I can tell you how to do it. And you might be able to do it better than I can if I give you the right instruction. But anyway, the other thing is when I'm out guiding, I'm not fishing much. For example, I'll have a designated angler. We'll have all these rods out with shiners on them, and I'll have a man and a woman, for example. And the man, I'll say, well, here's your rod. Okay, take this one. Ma'am, here's your rod. Take this one. And so what we'll do, we'll have those 2 rods in service. Then I'll take these other couple rods and I'll put one out. Then I'll maybe put another couple rods out or 1 rod out just as a spare. And I'll say to the man, the husband, for example, I'll say, who wants to be the designated angler? And the guy out of chivalry, he'll usually say, oh, make my wife the designated angler. And sure enough, then all the fish that I get on my rod, I say, ma'am, here you go. Here, start reeling, do this, do that, do that. And so she's catching a fish. And then this rod here that's sitting in the rod holder, it's the same kind of deal. Oh, ma'am, here's another one, designated angler. And all of a sudden, after about an hour or so, she's got about 3 times more fish than he does. And he'll say, well, let's change this designated angler around a little bit. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. And I'm teaching people an awful lot. I don't know how many times I'll get people and I'll ask them what the biggest fish is. And they'll say, oh, I really haven't caught, but say a 4 or 5 pound bass. And so I'll make a big deal out of that. I'll say, well, that's really nice. I know you're from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. There's not a whole lot of monster bass there. So if we get, say, a 5 or 6 pound fish, that would be a start. That's not a big trophy, but it's a big bass nevertheless. And so if we do catch one to start with, we usually do, say that size, a little bit bigger than what they've ever caught, I'll make a big deal out of it. I have my iPhone and I'll take pictures and also have my scale. That orange box over there is a digital scale. And if we're lucky enough to get a Florida trophy catch, I'll really make a big deal out of it. The Florida trophy catch is that bass over 8 pounds. I'll weigh it carefully and I'll take a measurement of it. And so that we'll go and submit it online to the Florida trophy catch with the FWC. And they'll get a nice certificate. They'll get a gift certificate as well for Bass Pro Shop that's probably worth $100. In fact, I had one guy that did all that, and at the end of the month they had another super drawing for just the contestants that were in the program, and he won a brand new trolling motor, $5,000 trolling motor in the process. So it was really worthwhile. Well, anyway, and I try to also, you might see everybody says, what's this thing? I try to do some film work out there when I can. And so I have all these camera setups. I don't have them with me right now, but they clamp onto these poles, and I can make them, adjust them, and I can clamp them on the windshield, or I can just hold them. And I try to get some YouTubes going. So that's kind of part of the experience when I work with these people. But I'd rather have good fishermen. That brings up to the point now. I'm going over to Headwaters, and I'm going to be fishing with a real good fisherman. His name is Lane Kenny. He's actually a game warden, And so I really enjoy fishing with those kind of people they can really handle the equipment. They can make a good cast. We'll catch a lot more fish that way. Because if I have to do all the stuff, if I have to bait every hook and help with straighten every worm out and show everybody exactly what to do, we're only fishing half speed. But if everybody in the boat's doing the right thing at the right time, we're fishing double speed. So I mean, we're catching more fish. So so I like those kind of days when you have a really good fisherman like Lane. Well, that's just part of the situation. Again, I can show you all his favorite lures, and I've done that. I've shown you all the spinner baits that I use and the crankbaits, and of course the chatterbaits and the worms. But that's been something, and I'll probably show you that again. But right now, it's spawning season. So what you have to think about, I'm going to go to first Headwaters, and I'll go to Okeechobee. There's spawning water. Now, what spawning water is it's the warmest water you can find. So what I'll be doing these next couple of days is I'll take my thermometer, and I got a thermometer on the boat, and I'm finding the warmest water. And I'll try to find holes in the hydrilla, the pockets in the holes in the hydrilla. And one of the favorite techniques is so much fun. I just love this. My favorite technique, I think, is taking this top water, like one of these right here, and I can take either well, just one of these like here. It's a good copper plug. Anyway, I can't get it out. I'll throw it in these holes and just let it sit there because it's very intimidating. Water's 5 or 6 feet deep, and the hole's 8 or 10 feet around, and the bass theoretically is spawning in there, or he's in the hole for whatever reason. But the longer it sits there, and the longer it just kind of intimidates him, the more likely he's going to come up to it. And it's funny because sometimes these big bass, over 5 pounds, 5, 6, 8 pound bass, will come up and they just suck it down. They just open their mouth real fast, and it looks like a bluegill. And it's a big, giant bass. It just sucked this plug down. So that's one of the fun ways of catching them. Then, of course, once the wind starts to blow, it got all kind of changes, and there's other ways to catch them. And we'll get into that later. But anyway, it's spawning season right now, and I can hardly wait to get out on the lake. I'll be fishing the last part of the week. We'll be at Lake Okeechobee, and they're spawning there as well. It's kind of a different spawn. Some of the canals and some of the places like that, the water's dropping, and so the traditional spawning areas are kind of hard to get to right now. And so that's one of the issues, trying to find a spawning area. But the canals are paying off, and I'll find spawning fish as well, using both shiners and lures. And then that's the other thing, when I take a guide party out, and I got thousands of dollars worth of tackle, thousands of dollars worth of rods and reels, I'll ask them, what do they want to do? And so most of the time, I'll try to mix a little bit of lure fishing in with the shiner fishing. The shiner fishing is going to probably end up catching more of the bigger fish, and people really want to catch those big trophy bass. So that's half the day. And the other half the day is throwing worms in top water, and that's a lot of fun. We catch plenty of fish, but they're not often the trophies that we catch on the shiners. Anyway, that's what's happening in my world. Just if you think you want to become a guide, you're going to have to make an investment, and it's really quite substantial. And it's a lot of fun, and it's a way to fish all the time, every day of the week if you want. But you're not going to get rich doing it. You just have a lot of fun doing it. And I'm having a lot of fun. My birthday's coming up, and I'm a little older than I wish I were. But hey, I still enjoy fishing 100%. I'm out there from dawn to dark. Hey, I'm the route the Cal Ripken. That's what my son calls me. Cal Ripken to the bass fishing. I'm out there early and stay late. I'm the first one to launch the boat sometime and the last one to leave. Anyway, folks, that's what's happening in my world. Hey, if you would, hit that like button, because, oh, man, this is what the engine that makes everything go around, Bass Pro Shop, and all my people, my Spike It people, and all my Cabela's and Tracker Marine and the Power Pole people, all my heaven, I just can go on and on with the frog tog. Speaking of frog togs, I have well over $1,000 worth of rain gear that I have to give my people, because when it rains, they're not often prepared. And so I have to have like $1,000 worth of rain gear just to keep them dry. So that's just another expense I wanted to just add on if you want to become a guide. Anyway, that's what's happening in my world. And I want to thank you again for watching, and we'll see you again next week.